2.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Ben.
And I'm Ashton.
And welcome back to The Connection, our bi-weekly newscast brought to you by the Broadcast Media Program at ATC. Today's
Today's Thursday, November 16th, and during the past 2 weeks we've been gathering lots of stories. Isn't that right, Ben?
That's right, Ashton. Students in grades 5 and 6 at École Guillot spent an hour in the morning learning how to create their own characters and write comics. The goal was to introduce students to the classic techniques of drawing superheroes and villains and link it to their art education. With more on the story, here's Graham Parsons.
Last week, students at École Guillot had the opportunity to explore their creativity with an hour-long workshop hosted by Jocelyne Jalette. The Quebec-born cartoonist taught students in grades 5 and 6 the basics of writing comics.
Well, what I taught was an introduction. They need to remember to make a story, you need to find a subject, and invent different characters. It's simplified, obviously. The hero, the sidekick, and finally the villain.
Over the course of the workshop, Jocelyne went around to every student and drew something from their imagination, offering students a personalized drawing. Students were then tasked with creating their own comic, designing the characters, and writing the story all by themselves.
I have to learn how to draw a superhero or whoever, and then the villain and all that stuff.
The event was organized through the Manitoba Education Library's French Division, where artists and authors are often invited into schools to teach workshops for the students. Organizer Shannon Burns says that cartooning is a great avenue for conveying messages to a wide spread of individuals.
There's always an undercurrent of a message in cartooning, so it's a beautiful art form, a growing literary form. We love to find different ways to expose students to this kind of a learning event.
École Guillot staff look forward to hosting more artists in the coming future through the Artists in the School program. At École Guillot, for The Connection, I'm Graham Parsons.
Students at St. George School are learning about keeping the environment clean. A special guest speaker came to talk to students this past week about the importance of recycling. With more on the story, here's Logan Bertrand.
Grade 7 and 8 students at Niagara Place have been learning how to code robots as part of their STEM education. Recently, they began planning, designing, and creating cardboard obstacle courses through which the robots will navigate. Students of this class make the codes and then put them into a program called Sphero. Many students have been working hard and putting in extra hours to complete the challenges they face.
The most challenging part was probably coding it, because we probably spent a good hour and a half on that in class. The Sphero programming was pretty frustrating when something wouldn't go, but then eventually we made it through, figured out what speed, what time, what everything, and everything turned out good in the end.
The grade 7 and 8 students have been building and decorating their obstacles, along with testing out their coding. With the app, the students can adjust values such as speed, duration, and direction. The teachers find that it is a good way to engage the students in a different type of learning.
It's the first time that I could see that they can express themselves the way they want me to see. They can be creative, they can show me how they solve their problems, they are engaged in the project. It's not something that you just give them a piece of paper and pen and just tell them do this.
They've really enjoyed learning the skills of thinking things through, problem solving, critical thinking, and mapping their things out so they can try something that works. They work with their robots, their design, and retool them to make sure that they work for what they needed to do.
At Niagara Place for The Connection, I'm Jamie Weeb.
Sorry, that was a story on coding. Students at St. George School have been learning about keeping the environment clean. A special guest speaker came to talk to students in the past week about the importance of recycling. With more on the story, here's Logan Bertram.
This past Monday, students of St. George School got to experience firsthand the importance of recycling. Guest speaker Mary Melnichuk, the environmental speaker
it's still me,
from the Action Center, sees many students all over Manitoba, teach them the importance of reusing. To get her message across, She uses lots of props to get the students interested in helping the Earth, and it also lets them see the real things they can do to help. Mary suggests they bring their knowledge of recycling home with them to actively practice, and believes that students need to learn recycling at a young age so they understand the effect it has on our planet.
They know a little bit, they know that they should do it, but they don't know why. And they don't know why small choices, like putting something into recycling, really create this ripple effect of saving resources.
It's good to know that students are becoming much more environmentally aware. At St. George School, for The Connection, I'm Logan Bertram.
École Provencher had a ribbon-cutting ceremony for the first phase of their school enhancement project Monday afternoon. The students were excited to play in the new playground and say they loved the changes made to the schoolyard. With more on the story, here's Baljit Singh.
On November 6th, École Provencher hosted a ribbon-cutting ceremony to launch the first phase of their schoolyard enhancement. Some of the partners involved in the project were present for the ribbon cutting. The yard enhancement took a little bit longer than expected to get completed, but Monday was the first day children could enjoy their playground.
A project took a lot of work, a lot of people getting involved, and a lot of fundraising, but anything you do for kids is worth it in the end. I think they're pretty excited to have swings, which for years there has not been any in this school ground, and we are, I believe, the only school in the province to have a zip line, so that's pretty exciting.
The students were very excited to finally be able to play on the new equipment, which they have been waiting for since last year. Proper funding has been one of the major stepping stones that the school needed to overcome to complete this project. Most of the money came from grants, while the parents of community worked hard to raise the rest.
Well, it has been a lot of work, lots of fundraising, lots of involvement from the parents and from the different governments to support the project. And we actually had the kids involved too. So early on in the project, there was a survey for kids where they could give feedback as to what they would like to see. So the swings that we have outside today are a direct result of something that the kids mentioned in their survey.
The school looked forward to installing an outdoor classrooms in the future. Provencher staff and students are thrilled with how the project is coming along. At École Provencher, reporting for The Connection, I am Baljit Singh.
It was a busy week for all schools in our division as they prepared for Remembrance Day ceremonies. At Archwood School, students participated in several peace workshops to learn about different topics related to Remembrance Day. Here is Luisa Isidro with more information on the subject.
We are here at Archwood School, where students are participating in different peace workshops. Through these interesting activities, students commemorate the Remembrance Day in Canada.
Students were learning about peace through different workshops, where they were taught to interact peacefully with their classmates. Archwood School taught their students about peace by using their artistic abilities, their bodies, Aboriginal knowledge, and of course, sharing.
There's 9 different stations, and they travel throughout. All of the students will go to all the stations during the day. So one is a drama activity, one is Indigenous education, teaching about love, where they're learning cooperative games in the gym. They're doing a song about peace in the music room. They're doing some mindfulness. They're doing some yoga, some meditation. They're doing a story about friendship. So that's the theme throughout the whole day.
Students excited about this day shared with us the activity they liked the most.
I like the one where you could decorate your poppies. Everyone's like sharing stuff. Coloring a feather, and I drew a gun with poppies crossed saying no war.
Archwood School has students from different parts of the world where there is conflict. However, through these peace workshops, the school just wanted to focus on the peace efforts.
Well, we've been doing it for multiple years. We would rather center in on peace and peaceful strategies at our school rather than talking about violence. And we have a lot of students coming to Archwood School from all over the world, so we want to center in on peaceful activities.
What I liked the most was learning about the residential schools. I'm Aboriginal, and my grandma went to a residential school, and I want to learn about the changes about what happens when an Aboriginal Aboriginal person goes to residential schools.
I was born in Syria, and then after Syria, there was fighting at Syria, and there was guns.
We really want to focus on the peace part of Remembrance Day, and so that's why we took this approach.
Through these 9 stations, the students will learn how to become peacemakers in their community.
For the connection, this is Grayson.
Thanks, Louisa and Grayson. To commemorate Remembrance Day, schools across the division have paid their respects to our armed forces in different ways. Our reporter Brendan Korzanowski has information on Victor Wyatt School. How Victor Wyatt School honored our fallen military soldiers.
On November 10th, students from Victor Wyatt School went on a little field trip to Elmwood Cemetery. The students were a part of a Remembrance Day ceremony called No Stone Left Alone.
I think it's really important for students to be part of something like this, just to remember all the soldiers, the men and women who fought for our freedom. And when we think of, what they went through in fighting, and on a cold day like this, it kind of makes it even more important to realize that no matter what the conditions are, men and women were out there serving for our country in all kinds of weather.
This ceremony hopes to educate students by honoring our fallen military and placing poppies at their headstones every November. Students are deeply affected by this simple gesture of remembrance.
This event means a ton to me because it allows us younger generation kids to understand Remembrance Day and understand why these people have fought for us and our freedom.
It means learning the history of our military and the past and how they fought for us, for Canada, and knowledge that can be passed on to the next generations.
2017 marks the 7th annual commemoration ceremonies for the No Stone Left Alone Memorial Foundation, which hopes to expand their outreach throughout Canada in the near future. Many schools around the school division are hosting their own events to help remember those who fought for our country. For The Connection, I'm Brendan Korzanowski.
On November 10th, Frontenac School held their Remembrance Day ceremonies for their K-4s and another for their 5-8s. They took the opportunity to talk to their older students about the Todd brothers, who are 2 Canadian soldiers who fought in World War II. The Todd brothers were Canadian pilots who took part in bombing missions on Germany. Frontenac School has a partnership with another school in the Netherlands called Het Koggetschip. For this project, the schools are going to teach each other about the Todd brothers in World War II.
Here at Frontenac, we have 2 of our grade 5-6 classes with their teachers, Aaron Charles. The Todd family in the new year to share their memorabilia with our students, and our students in turn will put together information that they will then send. In turn, the students in Medemblik will be gathering information about what it was like in their town during the Second World War, and they will share that with our students. In Canada here, we have our Remembrance Day on November 11th. In the Netherlands, they celebrate on May the 4th. So we hope to have our culminating project where our students will send something over to the students in Medemblik to place upon Ernie and Todd's grave.
École Saint-Germain hosted a school ceremony for their Remembrance Day last Friday. Many of the members of the community came to honor the soldiers that fought for our freedom. Remembrance Day marks the end of World War I in 1918, when the Allies and the German armies signed the Armistice to Compiègne in France. David Charney, Vice Principal of École Saint-Germain, hosted the ceremony for students, family, and the community. The ceremony began at 10:30 in the school's gymnasium, where students and family members gathered. The gym was decorated with Remembrance Day crafts and prepared by the classes. The school's choir performed 2 songs, including O Canada. About 23 students wore their Girl Guides, Brownies, Clubs, Sparks, Beaver uniforms, while 6 parents wore their Peacekeeper uniforms as well.
Remembrance Day is an opportunity to reflect and think about how lucky we are to be Canadians, how lucky we are to live free and democratically. It really is an opportunity for students to learn about the history, but also look to the future in terms of what their vision is for a healthy, happy future for our country. I'm hoping that all the kids realize that they're really lucky to be where they are, who they are in the country they live in, and at the time that they live. Right now, Canada is known for peacekeeping, it's known for being democratic, and it's known for being a progressive, positive country. And I hope that that's something that the kids are inspired to continue through student voice and eventually into their adult years.
This time of year, students come together to commemorate the loss of Canadian soldiers during hard times. Marion's school had a ceremony out of respect to the heroes of our past. The assembly started off with each class presenting their Remembrance Day projects, such as the story of Tommy Prince, one of Canada's most decorated First Nations soldiers, or giving thanks to the animals who were lost in the war. Students enrolled in the cadets after showing their respect by dressing in full uniform for the ceremony. Many of the students participated in handmade wreaths to honor men and women who fought for our freedom.
That's it for the news. At this time, by standing at the sports decks, is our very own Trent Brown to talk about the football in the past 2 weeks. Trent, it wasn't that outcome that the Lancers were looking for, was it?
Tyler Connia completes an amazing throw to receiver number 7, Austin Balin, for a gain of 30 yards. With the score 7-0 for Dakota, Sisler attempts a deep pass into the end zone, but the Lancers' Andreas Castellanos denies this opportunity. With less than a minute remaining in the half, Dakota's Reed Van Conant hands off the ball to number 34, Dre Ward, for another Lancers touchdown. Halfway through the third, quarterback Reed Van Conant lobs the ball to number 23, Everett Lenz, in the end zone to bring the Lancers up 21-0. Sisler punts the ball to the Lancers, only for Everett Lenz to run it right back into the end zone, giving him his second touchdown of the night. The score now 28-0. Next, the Sisler QB, Tyler Connick, makes a passing attempt to number 3, Stephen Connick, but Dakota intercepts the ball and rushes it back 20 yards before getting taken down. While the Spartans have the ball, number 4, Hugh Irwin, collides with the Sisler player, knocking the football loose, when Dakota's Michael Hickey picks up the fumble and regains possession of the ball. Dakota would take home a win in the semifinal game with a score of 42-0, advancing to the championship at Events Bowl against the St. Paul's Crusaders.
Dakota ended up with a loss. Could they do it 2 weeks in a row and beat teams they couldn't during the regular season? Let's take a look at the highlights to find out.
9 minutes left in the first quarter, St. Paul's quarterback Brody Lawson finds receiver number 10, Noah Dorn, in the end zone to open scoring for the Crusaders. Later in the first quarter, QB Brody Lawson punches the ball over the goal line for the second touchdown of the night for St. Paul's. They would then bring out kicker Vince DeRosa to add the extra point, but he is blocked, keeping the score 13-0. Late in the second quarter, Lawson would find receiver Michael O'Shea in the end zone, bringing St. Paul's up 19-0. The Crusaders would opt for the 2-point convert, but is shut down by the Lancers' Nick Conway. Lawson would then try going for a deep throw, but it is knocked out of the hands of his receiver again by Conway. St. Paul's Vince DeRosa would come back to attempt another field goal, but he misses it low, and it is collected by Conway as he is taken down in his own end zone. For the end of the third, the Crusaders' offense would dominate, running touchdown after touchdown. Ultimately, the Crusaders would shut out the Lancers, bringing the final score up 35-0. The St. Paul's Crusaders would be crowned the 2017 WHSFL at Events Bowl champions.
Moving over to hockey now, on Monday, November 13th, the J.H. Bruns Broncos played Kildonan East at Southdale Arena. This was a very rough, rock'em sock'em type of hockey game, so let's take a look at the highlights.
Early in the first period, the J.H. Bruns Broncos take the puck down the ice and take a shot from wide down the goal line, but the Kildonan East goaltender shuts that play down while the net is knocked off the moorings. Later in the first period, Kildonan East wins a faceoff in the Broncos' defensive zone and pulls the puck back to their defenseman as he shoots into a few bodies in front of the net, being tipped in, bringing Kildonan to the lead, 1-0. With just less than 3 minutes left in the first, another Broncos partial breakaway is shut down with a diving trip by the Kildonan East player. The Broncos player would hit the boards pretty hard, but he pops right back up uninjured.
That's it for our highlights, but there was still plenty of other action going on in the Louis-Riel School Division. Let's take a look at all the scores. That's it for sports. Now we'll throw it back to Ashton and Ben to wrap up the show.
Hey Ashton, what are you doing?
Sorry, I was working on practicing our league team.
What league team? Nobody tells me anything.
Well, our school is making a League of Legends team, and we're thinking about broadcasting it.
Oh, that sounds really fun. What else is coming up?
Well, Ben, we have the JV volleyball game coming up at Investors Group Athletic Center on November 27th.
And our next Connection broadcast will be on November 30th.
And we also have a provincial 4A volleyball game coming up as well.
Don't forget to check out our social media, like us, follow us, or subscribe to see what's going on in the Louis-Riel School Division.
Also, a big shout out to the ATC Aesthetics program for making us look fantastic.
That'll be all for the Connection this week. Be sure to tune in next time.
Have a great day, everyone.
Test, 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 test.
Over and over.